Hey everyone! As you all know, Zhongli's rerun is here, and I want to speak about an amazing Geo support that will complement Zhongli, your team, and allow you to utilize the very strong Geo Resonance. This is none other than the Geo Traveler, Aether, and Lumine. In this video, I will speak about why you should build a Traveler and go into important things such as builds, how to play them, and team comps. So let's begin. Firstly, let's go over their skill. The Traveler's skill is a Geo construct that deals damage when cast and when broken, thanks to a second constellation. This skill has great scaling with a low cooldown of 6 seconds thanks to his passive talent Shatter Dark Rock. This skill has many great features. It can be used to hit enemies from a distance and most importantly, deal passive damage. Zhongli's pillar has the ability to cause Geo constructs to resonate, causing tick damage. With the Traveler's 2 constructs and Zhongli's pillar, there will be 3 sources of huge passive damage. For example, say in the Spiral Abyss a chamber takes a minute and 30 seconds to clear. All 3 constructs will deal the same damage, my case being 4,370. In total, this is 13,110 damage which is being dealt every 2 seconds. By the end of the chamber, with my crit rate of 60%, I will deal 436,654 damage passively. And this is not even mentioning the damage dealt when the constructs are cast and broken. Some tips in regards to his skill is to first hold the skill instead of tapping. As you can see, tapping takes very long, instead you should quickly hold the skill as it is much faster. Another tip is to place the construct at the edge of an enemy. If this isn't done, the skill may not deal its initial placement damage, or worse, the constructs may accidentally be placed under the enemy, and if this happens, enemies will be too high for most of your attacks to actually damage them. As for the Traveler's burst, his burst deals damage through high scaling shockwaves. There are 4 shockwaves in total, so the scaling of his burst is a very surprising 1124%. The burst has many great uses aside from just damage. Firstly, though the burst will slightly knock back enemies, there will be a barrier created that will enclose enemies to you, allowing you to deal damage to all enemies within the barrier. Secondly, the barrier is considered a Geo construct, so Zhongli's pillar can actually cause it to resonate, and all 4 parts of the barrier will resonate and deal separate damage. And what's even more amazing is that you can still place the Traveler's skill constructs to deal even more passive damage. In this scenario, there will be 7 sources of passive damage, 3 being Zhongli's and the Traveler's skill, the other 4 being the Traveler's burst storm barrier. Yet, unless there's a swarm of enemies, most enemies are often only hit by 2 sides of the Traveler's burst. So then, with 5 sources of passive damage, each dealing 4,370, in the Spiral Abyss, I will deal 21,850 damage every 2 seconds. Within 1 minute and 30 seconds, with a 60% crit rate, I will deal an insane 727,758 damage. Beyond damage numbers, the Traveler's Stone Barrier will grant characters within it an additional 10% critical rate thanks to his first constellation. Lastly, his 4th constellation provides energy to his team when his burst is cast. As for which of the talents you should prioritize his burst and skill, but do note that upgrading his burst and skill will not increase the passive damage produced by the 2. The one responsible for this damage is Zhongli's skill, this being the stone, steel, and resonance damage. So if you want to increase the passive damage, you'll want to upgrade Zhongli and this specific skill of his. And note that the Traveler's crit rate has no effect in terms of how many times his constructs will crit with Zhongli's resonance, as once again all the damage and scaling of the passive damage is from Zhongli and his stats. So if you want your passive damage to crit more or deal more damage, you'll have to give Zhongli more crit and upgrade him for this to occur. I've covered his talents and now I'll explain how to actually play him. The Geo Traveler should be played as a sub DPS, meaning you're to deal damage through his skill and burst. And when all of these things are cast, you're supposed to switch out to another character until his cooldowns are complete. His rotation in a team with Zhongli would be to first apply Zhongli's shield for the reduced enemy resistance and for the pillar. Then, you're going to cast the Traveler's skill near Zhongli's pillar so it can resonate. You'll switch into another character until the Traveler's skill cooldown is done. When it is, place his other construct near the pillar. and when his burst is ready, you should use his burst before the rest of the parties, so the rest of the party can use that added 10% crit rate. As for teams without Zhongli, you're still supposed to do all of the things I previously mentioned, aside from casting his skill near Zhongli's pillar. Here, his skill would be used for its placement damage and to block incoming attacks. As for how to build a Traveler, I'll speak about weapons first. The Traveler will be relying on his burst for damage, so you're going to want to give him a fairly high amount of energy recharge, ideally around 150 to 170%. This can be easily achieved through energy recharge weapons, the best in my opinion being the Skyward Blade with its high base attack and high energy recharge. The Festering Desire is a strong alternative. If you don't have any of these, the Favonius Sword is a good alternative to the two. If you do have enough energy recharge through artifacts or through a battery, more offensive type weapons having attack percent or either crits would be the better option. In terms of 5 stars, some great options would be the Mist Splitter Reforged and the Primordial Jade Cutter, the Selma Shaper, and the Aquila Favonia. Though the latter half don't have the greatest substats and passives in terms of complementing the Traveler as a sub DPS, these two swords grant very high attack, so they're still good options nonetheless. For 4 stars, you could use either the Black Sword or the Blackcliff Longsword, as the two have good crit substats. In terms of attack percentage, you could use any of the 4-star attack percentage weapons, like say the Float or the Lion's Roar, but the best sword in this scenario would be the craftable Inazuma Sword, the Amenoma Kaguchi. I hope I pronounced that well. It gives a good attack while its passive gives a good amount of energy, so this sword fits perfectly with the Traveler's playstyle. As for artifacts, I recommend giving the Traveler either of these sets. I've personally given my Traveler a 2-piece Archaic Petra and a 2-piece Noblesse Oblige. Now you could give the Traveler a 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate, but the problem with this set is that it only buffs his burst damage while neglecting his skill, and his skill plays an important aspect of his kit, so I personally wouldn't recommend this. As for the substats you want the usual damage substats like both crits, attack percentage, energy recharge is good, and you of course want to give the Traveler a Geo Goblet. On to team comps. Truthfully, the Traveler is very universal. Though I highly recommend running him with Zhongli to get the passive tick damage, you could still run him with say Noelle, Nigguang, Itto, and he would still benefit you with the Geo Resonance, his good damage, and the added 10% crit rate, but he's definitely at his best with Zhongli. With having these two characters, truthfully, you could fill up the remaining 2 slots with whoever you want. Some of my personal favorites is Mono Geo. With everyone being Geo, everyone's able to get their burst quickly, you're able to then spam their burst, it's a lot of fun and very effective. You could also stray away from just Geo and add Xingqiu for even more passive damage and have Eula as your main DPS. You could also add Ganyu and Xiangling for an amazing melt Ganyu comp. With the shield benefits of Geo, you wouldn't have to worry about getting hit while waiting for Ganyu's charge shots. And with them being Geo, you wouldn't also have to worry about them getting in the way of any sort of elemental reactions. And that is everything. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. If you have any questions regarding the Traveler, by all means ask them in the comments. Hopefully all of you needing a Geo support will be benefited from this video, regardless if you're using the Traveler. And good luck to all those building him. Thank you all for watching. Take care. And thank you once again.